Nothing is good about a divorce. When two people who were so in love with each other at some point enough for them to get married decide to split up and go their separate ways, it's sure to leave a trail of bitterness and heartache. It's even worse when there are children involved. The long battle for custody can leave an indelible negative impact on the young kids. But even when there are no kids involved, a divorce will still be a messy business. This is because most couples can't figure out a way to reach an amicable agreement about how the properties they've worked together for a long time to accumulate will be split between them. The squabble over possession might sometime make either or both estranged spouses to do something quite incredible and sometimes even violent to hold on to the property. Such was the case with Gerald and Catherine, who had to go through a tough divorce after 37 long years of marriage. The marriage had ended on a terrible note, with Gerald cheating on Catherine with his much younger secretary and finally deciding to leave his wife for her. But what was already a heartbreaking period for Catherine was made even worse by the bad behavior of Gerald and his new girlfriend. The young woman insisted that Gerald ought to be the one to get their $1-million home. But Catherine, who felt she's invested an equal amount of her energy and sweat on getting the home and even put more efforts into decorating the home herself, felt she deserved to keep the home. The disagreement led to a court battle, and in the end, Gerald was able to get some unscrupulous lawyers who won him and his young girlfriend the house. Catherine was devastated when she heard she had just 3 days to leave the house. But despite her sadness, 3 days was just enough time to come up with a plan that would help her secure the house for herself. She wasn't going to just give up and let herself be cheated out of the house without putting up a fight. On the very last night she was meant to stay at the home, Catherine prepared a lovely meal of shrimp and caviar for herself. One would think that she wanted to console herself with one last meal in the house before she had to let it go. But she had other plans. After finishing her meal, she went around the house sticking shrimp shells and a little bit of leftover caviar inside the hollow of the curtain rods. She moved her things out of the house the next day without saying a word and watched her plan materialize. When Gerald and his young girlfriend moved in, they were met with a badly smelly house. No matter how much they tried to clean up the house, they just couldn't get rid of the terrible stink. Frustrated, they decided to put the house up for sale, but unfortunately for them, no one would take such a stinky house. In his frustration, Gerald decided to offer to sell the house to the one person that might still be interested in buying it, his ex-wife, Catherine. Of course, she agreed to buy the house, but Gerald had to sell it for 1/10 of its price. Now the house was hers for keeps at last, and as a final act of goodwill, she allowed them to take all their belongings in the house, including the curtain rods.